Hello students, Kale ma'am here. In last lecture, we have seen the notes for capital structure regarding with its definition and components or parts of capital structure. Today we are going to understand what is the meaning, definition and components with the help of this screen recorder. So students, here are two words in capital structure. First one is capital and second one is structure. It is the combination of two words, capital and structure. So you all of know what is the capital. It is the amount invested in the business, because we see without capital business cannot be run successfully and smoothly. So the funds required by the business to carry out all their activities are called as capital. And another word is structure. So structure is nothing but arrangement of funds available in various sources such as shares, debentures, mutual funds, retained earnings, etc. So, capital structure is nothing but it is a mix-up of various sources of funds in desired proportion. व्यवसायामध्ये लागणाऱ्या भांडवलाची रचना, संरचना ही म्हणजेच कॅपिटल स्ट्रक्चर होय. आणि ही संरचना म्हणजे काही नसून व्यवसायामध्ये उपलब्ध असलेल्या अनेक प्रकारच्या सोर्सेसचं केलेलं कॉम्बिनेशन किंवा मिक्सअप यालाच कॅपिटल स्ट्रक्चर म्हणतात. सो when business or firm requirement is decided, attention is given how that capital will be raised through two sources, important two sources, that are owned capital and borrowed capital. That is the combination of capital structure. So owned capital is known as permanent capital, which is refunded only at the time of liquidation of the company. But borrowed capital is capital which is borrowed from creditors. So here are the definitions. First definition is given by R.H. Wessel. He defines the long-term sources of funds employed in a business enterprises, that is known as capital structure. It means that when company raises long-term sources of funds, we know that are used for fixed assets, that is known as capital structure by the opinion of R.H. Wessel. Another definition is given by John Hampton. According to him, a firm's capital structure is the relation between the debt and equity securities that mix up the firm's financing of its assets. As per this John Hampton's definition, they says that there is the relation between debt and equity securities. Just I said, capital structure is combination of owned capital and borrowed capital. Here John Hampton says debt capital, that is borrowed capital, which is raised through debentures and term loans, and equity securities is raised through shares, preference shares, retained earnings, etc. So there should be a good combination of this owned capital and borrowed capital. There should be relation between debt and equity capital, that is known as capital structure by the opinion of John Hampton. So students, there should be a good ratio between different securities in total capital, which is known as composition of capital. So capital structure is very important. The ratio between borrowed capital and owned capital is very important. Now we will see what are the components or parts of capital structure. Just I said Components of capital structure are divided in two parts. First part, A part is owned capital and B part is borrowed capital. So, what is owned capital? The capital which remains in the business permanently, that is known as owned capital. It supplies initial source of capital for newly established company as well as established company. It can be raised through three sources. Here is the first source, that is equity share capital. So what students, it is the basic source of financing activities of business. It is a type of share capital. The person who purchases the equity shares, that are known as owners of the business. So equity shares are basic sources. The person who buys or the persons who purchases the equity shares means they provide basic capital, equity share capital for the business. They help the business for raising necessary owned capital, but they also bear risk associated with this ownership. They get fluctuating rate of dividend as returns on their investment, because this returns, which is known as dividend, depends upon the profit of the business. So it is the basic part or basic source of owned capital, that is equity share capital. Second type of share capital, that is known as preference share capital. Students, we are going to see in details all these types of share capital in second chapter. It is here we are going to learn only it is the parts of capital structure or components of capital structure. So second component is preference share capital. So preference share capital is the capital or shares which carries preferential right in getting payment of dividend and repayment of capital. They carries fixed rate of dividend and they have limited voting rights. So it is the another part of capital structure. Preference share capital म्हणजेच ज्यांना डिव्हिडंड मिळण्यामध्ये प्रेफरन्स दिला जातो आणि ज्यावेळी कंपनी लिक्विडेट होते त्यावेळी त्यांना इक्विटी शेअर होल्डरच्या अगोदर कॅपिटल परत मिळण्याचा अधिकार असतो, त्यांना प्रेफरन्स शेअर कॅपिटल असं म्हणतात. ज्यांना फिक्स्ड रेटने डिव्हिडंड दिला जातो परंतु त्यांना लिमिटेड वोटिंग राईट्स असतात. हा एक कॅपिटल स्ट्रक्चरचा दुसरा महत्त्वाचा पार्ट आहे ओन्ड कॅपिटलमधला. आणि थर्ड part of owned capital is retained earnings. It is an internal source of financing. It is nothing but flowing back of profit. It is not a type of share capital, but when company gets profit, a part of total profit is kept aside as a reserve fund and it is again reinvested in the business whenever business required the funds. So it is known as internal source of financing, that is known as retained earnings. Second part is B, sorry, here is a printing mistake. B part is there, that is borrowed capital. So borrowed capital means the capital which is raised by the creditors by external sources, that is known as borrowed capital. And the first part of borrowed capital is debenture. So debenture is nothing but it is an acknowledgement of loan raised by company, but company has to pay interest at fixed rate to these creditors. And second part is term loan. So we all of know that it is a very important source of borrowed capital. These term loans are provided by bank or financial institutions. They also carry fixed rate of interest. So students, I have sent through notes an example of balance sheet to understand what is the capital structure. So try to understand it and write down these notes in your notebook. Thank you. Stay safe.